Good evening. You are welcome in the zoology program organized by Society of Career Technology and Jan Vikas Mahasabha. Today is a 117th episode in English medium. We will talk about brain and its functioning. As I have told you many times that any scientific observation depends on some scientific experiments. Our brain is also made up of about 1 into 10 to the power 11 cells. There are three types of cells in our brain. One is neuron, second is glia cells, and third is ependymal cell. The human brain, as it appears, it and another diagram showing different parts each. Now, so there are three parts of brain. Number one, two, three. Number one is the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. The forebrain is also made up of cerebrum, midbrain is made up of 4 optic lobes, and hindbrain is also made up of 3 parts: cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. The main cells which are responsible for receiving message and conveying the message away from it are the neurons or nerve cells. They are similar to other cells having a nucleus, cytoplasm, mitochondria, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum, ribosome, lysosome. But there are two important features. One, they do not have centrosome, so they cannot divide. Secondly, they have a special type of granules in the cytoplasm called Nissel's granules, which are made up of RNA and protein. And thirdly, along with normal cell membrane, which is called the cell body or cyton, 2 more processes are there in nerve cells. One for receiving the message, and second for conveying the message away from the cell. One which is for receiving the message are called dendron or dendrites, and the one which conveys the message away from it are called axons, as you can see here. This is the structure of a nerve cell or neuron. Like other cell, it is also have a cell body, no centrosome, a special type of granules, Nissen's granules, a nucleus, cytoplasm, and all other cytoplasmic organelles, mitochondria, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum, etc. It has one or more than one branches for receiving message. They are called dendron or dendrite, and there is one process which is for carrying message away from it, which is called axon. And this axon carries the message from cell to the other part, to the distant objects. Like an electrical wire which is insulated by a plastic or rubber covering. This axon is also covered by a covering of connective tissue cells which are called Schwann cell. And there are many Schwann cells. In between two Schwann cells there is a gap which is called node of Ranvier, and the area in between two nodes is called internode. It is further covered by a neurilemma, and the length of this axon may be up to 1 to 2 meters. At certain point it may have some lateral branches which are called collateral, and these collaterals unite with each other to form a reticular formation. Reticular formation, it is supposed that it is for storage of information or memory, where one axon ends, it branches into many fibers which are called telodendria, and there are certain button-like structures which are called terminal buttons. In terminal buttons we have certain sacs which are called synaptic vesicles. They contain an chemical acetylcholine. There is a gap in between axonal terminal of one neuron and the dendron of the other nerve cell. This gap is called synapse. This synapse may be either 50 angstrom or 150 angstrom. So there are two methods of transmission through this synapse. If the gap is 50 angstrom, the message is transmitted by electrical method. If the gap is 150 angstrom, this synaptic vesicle secretes acetylcholine, and that acetylcholine carries the message up to dendron of the other nerve cell. There we have certain receptors. They further make a message and convey further. Immediately after conveying the message, this acetylcholine is broken down by an enzyme, acetylcholine esterase. Now what happens? Like a rope which is made up of many parallel running threads, a nerve fiber is also made up of many parallel running axons. And if we cut a transverse section of a nerve fiber, levels of connective tissue or packing material, the outermost packing material is called epineurium. Then there are many bundles or fascicles. Therefore, in between we have perineurium. Then in each bundle or fascicle, again we have 4, 5, 6 nerve axons, which are further surrounded by neurilemma, and the connective tissue or packing material present in between a fascicle is called endoneurium. Now, for a pretty long time, since before 1950, scientists were thinking that any message from one part of our body to the brain, perhaps it is carried by a sort of electrical current. But how to record that electrical current? There were no systems. Because, firstly, the thickness of a human axon is 0.1 to 10 micron, and the electrical current flowing through it is of the level of millivolt. Millivolt means 1000 part of a volt. And in our circuit, electrical current, for changing whether current is coming or not, we use tester. Here the axon is very small, so we have to use tester of corresponding size. However, in 1950, 3 different discoveries made it possible. It is interesting to note that squid joint axon it has a thickness of about 1500 micron. So all the initial experiments on nerve fiber physiology were conducted on squid joint axon. Further, some of the scientists made certain pasture pipette which were having tip diameter 1 micron, and there is an instrument CRO, cathode ray oscilloscope. The screen of our TV or the computer monitor, they are example of cathode ray oscilloscope. Cathode ray oscilloscope is an instrument which can record change in potential up to millivolt level and a change taking place in millisecond time. So after these 3 discoveries, it became possible to find out whether really an electrical current is passing through our nerve fiber or not. So some experiments were conducted. Normal thickness of an axon is 0.1 to 10 micron. Squid giant axon is having 1500 micron. A glass micropipette was made having a tip diameter of 1 micron, filled with 0.3 molar KCl solution, and a CRO, cathode ray oscilloscope, was used. Any change in environment which is capable of causing a reaction in our body is called a stimulus. So whether we touch it, our skin, by a hot needle, cold needle, or press it, or whether there is a dark object in front of eye or bright object, or any smell or any sound, all these are stimulus. So any change in external environment or even in internal environment also, which is capable of making a response in our body, is called a stimulus. Now, in a squid giant axon, 2 glass microelectrodes were kept at certain distance, and they were connected by a CRO or a sensitive galvanometer. At a certain distance, a stimulus was given, and it caused a deflection in the needle of sensitive galvanometer. Once on this side normal, then this side, then normal. So this movement of needle of galvanometer clearly indicated that when a stimulus is given in our body, some electrical current is created. Actually, it is an electrochemical current, and it is by the action of sodium and potassium ion, or sodium and chloride ion, or sometimes it may be calcium ion and magnesium ion. In the cell membrane of the nerve axon, we have a particular specific type of carrier protein which is called sodium potassium ATPase or sodium pump. This is like a revolving door. So this is the outer surface of an axon and this is the inner surface. So it rotates like this, and carry 3 sodium ions from exoplasm up to the outer surface and bring 2 potassium ions from outside to the inside. So net positive charge becomes much more on the surface than in the exoplasm. As a result, the axonal surface develops positive potential, and in respect to that, the exoplasm develops a negative potential of minus 70 millivolt. It is called the resting potential or membrane potential. So all the nerve fibers are not in normal condition, they remain in polarized condition, having positive potential on the outer surface and the exoplasm having negative potential of minus 70 millivolt. Now what happens when a stimulus is given? Like in a picture hall, when they are in interval and the gate opens, all inhabitants in this picture hall, they come out for taking tea or samosa. When the stimulus is given, the permeability of this exoplasm membrane increases for sodium ions for a short time, and much more sodium ions enter into the exoplasm. So that area becomes positively charged and the outer surface becomes negatively charged. This positive potential in the exoplasm is called action potential. It is of the level of plus 45 to plus 54 millivolt. And this deviation from polarization is called depolarization. Actually, all impulses are in the form of this depolarization wave. Now what happens? You can see here that there is opposite potential in the surrounding area. So immediately what will happen? Positively charged ions will travel in this area and make them again positive like earlier, but in this process that area itself becomes negatively charged. So this way, this impulse in the form of depolarization wave proceeds ahead, and the earlier portion again becomes repolarized, which is called repolarization. So this way all the messages are conveyed through the nerve axons. You can ask a question at this level. If all the messages are in the form of this depolarization wave, how we discriminate between different types of stimuli? For this, we have at our body surface some specialized cells, specialized neurons or specialized epithelial cells which are sensitive for a particular type of stimulus only. For example, in our eye, in the retina of the eye, we have certain receptors which are sensitive for light and darkness. So whenever light falls on retina, immediately there is a rhodopsin protein, it breaks into retinine and opsin, and an electrochemical current is created which carries the information from retina to the optic lobe part of the brain. So in our tongue also we have different areas for different tastes. For sweet we have different areas, for bitter taste we have different areas. So such modified cells which are sensitive for a particular type of stimulus only are called receptors. And receptors are the important components of all sense organs. In our skin, we have separate receptors for cold, separate for hot. Whenever a cold object touches, that receptor for cold is affected and electrochemical current is formed, carries the message to optic lobe part of the brain. Then if a hot object is touched, receptor responsible for hot object is affected and it carries the message. If a pressure is applied, there are baroreceptors which carry the message to the brain. So this way our body discriminates in between different types of stimuli by having receptors or sense organs. Regarding other functions of brain and anatomy of brain, we will talk to you. on the next one. Thank you very much.